The following podcast may contain some adult language. You've been warned.
Those of you who got an invite, welcome to NerdProm.
No matter where in the world you are, we're all nerds! International. With the hyphen.
Welcome to Finding the Narrative, a Genesys RPG podcast. This is a show dedicated to the Genesys role-playing system from Fantasy Flight Games, a show in which we, your hosts, discuss all things Genesys from both the player's and a GM's perspective. I am Tony Fanning, and with me as always is my good friend and co-host Chris Holmes. How you doing, homie?
A little bit disturbed after what you just told me about your role-playing experience today.
Yeah.
But, I'm doing pretty good, man. Doing pretty good. I ran the Pathfinder 2 playtest last night for my Saturday night group, and yeah, it was fun.
Pathfinder, wasn't it?
It was Pathfinder for sure. It took us about 2 hours to make characters. Yes, Jim, you were not wrong. Yeah, so we're probably going to try it again, but we'll see.
Yeah,
we'll see.
And as I was telling you, I ran Star Wars at my friendly local game store today, and we didn't have any kids around, so we had adult time.
Enough said, right?
Yep.
Don't think we have to go into any more details there.
Yep. People's imaginations went where it normally does when there's no kids around.
Yeah, exactly. So beyond that, news this week, the Legend of the Five Rings beginner game came out on Thursday, was released. That's not Genesys related news because we don't have any. Kind of. And Tony, you said you picked that up. Took a quick look at it. We were looking at the character sheets on it a little bit. Looks pretty cool.
Yeah, looks good. Looks like it's going to be a fun game to play. I'm not going to read it. I'm going to play it first. It seems like coming out of GenCon that Fantasy Flight didn't provide a tremendous amount of role-playing game news, period, except for their L5R stuff. But then just 2 days ago, they announced the Clone Wars supplement coming for Star Wars.
Oh, yes.
So it looks like they're just going to trickle role-playing stuff to us a little bit at a time, not have big press releases about it, which I'm okay with. So.
Now, you were just telling me that they are working on the current setting that they're working on for Genesys is Android, which is what we kind of thought and hoped and prayed.
And so, because of that, we picked a theme for today's show. And not a very, not my very pithy titles like I normally have. It's just Hacking 101. We're going to go over the hacking rules. And probably we're going to touch on some of the Android stuff coming down the pipe.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Yeah, so that's about all for the news right now.
All right. So feedback-wise, we got a little bit.
Cool.
So we'll start with from Facebook. From Giacomo Lecchi. He sends, "Hi, found your podcast, liked it quite a bit. I'm slowly moving through the episodes, got to number 6 now. I had a question for you guys. In your examples and scenarios, you often upgrade / add a red die due to situational concerns. Something that I really like, but not completely in line with Raw, and from the core book. The core book says that upgrades come strictly from mechanical effects. How do you decide when to give an upgrade to a red die and when to give a setback instead? Besides opposed checks, obviously. Thanks." Well, Giacomo, I sent him a response. 9 times out of 10, follow the rules. Go by Raw. but there are times when it just an automatic upgrade is necessary.
Mm-hmm.
Chris,
Yeah.
what is your rule of thumb for that, dude?
For an automatic upgrade would be something that would be, well, first of all, if it would be cool in the situation, when a despair comes up, whether it would be pretty cool.
When it would be cool, or when it would be pretty probable.
Pretty probable. Like if somebody's has a chance of falling, and they're falling to their death. Like if they're if there is a serious, 9 times out of 10, you're not going to make your players roll if there's no consequence for failure. If there is a consequence of failure, you'll have them roll, but if there is a severely deadly consequence for failure, that's when I would provide an automatic upgrade.
Right, especially when you're running
rule of thumb.
Yeah, and especially when you're running like a survival horror game.
Yes.
Where a lot of times that upgrade is going to come. It doesn't have to come through the point of a story point, or through a rolled despair or a rolled triumph from a previous roll. Mm-hmm. You can just say the consequences of failing this roll require that I throw one upgrade in here.
Yeah,
automatically.
If you want to, here's an example. You want to make a check for, say, you're a gymnast on a balance beam, and you want your character to make a check for that. You'd roll, right? Where I would do an automatic upgrade is if that gymnast had a lava pit below the balance beam.
Extreme gymnastics.
Extreme gymnastics. Yeah, hopefully none of our kids are in that situation, but if your little halfling thief or rouge type of rogue is crossing needs to make a balance check across a lava pit, you know what? Throw an upgrade. Upgrade that sucker.
And where I get this example from is from in the rules. It says right into when you're firing into a melee, and you have both engaged enemies and engaged friendlies in the same melee, and you're firing into that with any kind of ranged attack, spell or otherwise.
Yep.
It's in the rules. You automatically upgrade one of those dice, because if you miss, you will hit a friend.
Right.
That is kind of hard coded in there. So that means that there's an automatic upgrade because there's an automatic reason for a despair.
You said if they miss, but you mean if the despair comes up, you would hit the friend.
Despair. Right. Sorry. If the despair is rolled. Then they're going to do damage to a friendly.
That's right.
So there's an automatic reason for despair. There's an automatic reason to upgrade. You don't have to waste your story points as a GM to do so. Just do it.
I would probably spend another one. Spend one.
Yeah, and then the rest of the time, spend them willy-nilly. There's nothing like automatic upgrading and then turning around and spending a story point and watching it go up twice.
Yeah. It doesn't suck. That's true.
And then setback dice like you wouldn't believe. I had a player roll today. We threw the maximum 4 setback dice or boost dice out the window today. I told him, I said, I'm tired of this rule. I'm getting rid of it.
How'd that
go? We had a player that rolled in one roll. He had 3 boost dice and 6 setback dice.
What the heck? That's awesome.
his dice pool started out with 3 green and 2 purple. And when him and I were done with it, it had every color in the rainbow.
That's awesome.
And it only took us a couple seconds to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I do remember you throwing one of those automatic upgrades on my sniper that was on top of a log pile that was bundled together, and I was being shot at, and the log pile started going over, and you're like, well, this is going to be a hard check, and I'm going to automatically upgrade it. I'm like, as you should, because I could be crushed.
You could be crushed to death under these giant rocher trees on, because we're on Kashyyyk,
Right.
and the big trees are like 10 feet in diameter.
Mm-hmm.
They're huge.
And then you being the GM that you were, you flipped the story point too, or flipped the destiny point. I think you gave me 2 reds. So woo!
Yeah, but you surfed those logs like it was no tomorrow.
There's that. There is that.
All right, so thank you for the letter, Giacomo.
Yeah, thank you, man. Hopefully that helped.
Yeah. And then the other piece that I picked today, we got from Makiwa.
Yeah.
From Jay Makiwa.
Mm-hmm.
He says some French stuff. It's Oye, c'est moi. I think that's what that is. C'est moi. That's what that is, yeah.
Sure.
It's me. I'm famous now. Thanks, you guys. Your review really warmed my heart. I'm really happy that you liked my supplement. By the way, I'm a dude. Hoo-hoo.
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean the profile pic was of a woman, I believe. I hope it was. I think it was. So you don't know, but it's all good. But you know what? It's a great supplement. Keep up the good work, Makiwa. That was awesome. It was an awesome supplement, and you're famous again. I mentioned you twice.
Yeah.
To all the tens of listeners out there.
All right, so we're going to step on over into our second edition of our new show segment. Are you ready?
Oh, I'm ready. I got a special one for you.
All right, let's do it. All right, this show segment is called 50 Pieces of Awesome. This is where Chris goes on to the interwebs, uses his Google foo, and finds something cool to share with me and you. So what'd you find for us, Chris?
All right, on my search of all of the interwebs that are out there, went to the dark net.
Oh, and you made it back.
I made it back, apparently. No, so what I found is a D&D 5e style Tiernoth character sheet by Drainsmith, and you all can find this up on the Fantasy Flight gaming forums for Genesis in the list of resources. And these look like the 5th edition character sheets, and me being the DM that I am and still love playing D&D, this is great. This is great stuff. It looks, the layout is awesome. We have, if anybody's familiar with the 5th edition character sheets, one of the things that I liked about this was they were able to, and I'm sure Tony will appreciate this, 2 pages only. Yay!
Yay!
So fit everything on page 1, and then page 2 is a talents pyramid.
Yay!
Even got a space for the heroic ability in the middle. The critical injuries, so sweet. So if anybody's familiar with the 5th edition stuff, you have your death saves and the checkboxes. Well, we have critical injuries in up to 4 different circles, because critical injuries can be up to 4 levels, right?
Yep.
The ranged and melee defense has a nice shield as a background. The strength, flaw, desire, and fears are in the place where the background traits were. So, it's pretty cool. And then we have, let me see. Yeah, and then the skills are there. You could check the circle for being the, for being a career skill. And then you can put the number of ranks in there that you have.
So very cool.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah, and I would also like to give a honorable mention.
Ooh, 2 for the price of 1.
2 for the price of 1, everybody. There is a Genesis Realms character sheet made by Simon Retold out there, and that is the same thing. Pretty close to the same thing. Couple of slight differences, though. I believe in his world setting, they have what's called a cast and calling. So you get 4 skills from your cast and 4 skills from your calling, making up your career. So that's kind of cool. And then what he did is he ended up grouping the skills, which I kind of like this. With all your bronze skills, you have all your bronze skills next to it, and even boxes for the number of ranks that you can click in. And again, the strength, flaw, desire, fears in the same spot. Total XP, unspent XP, and then 2 pages. Again, Tony, with the talent pyramid talent on the second sheet. So well done to you both. Any thoughts there, Tony, on these from you?
No, I love the fact that they're, as you said, 2 pages. So that fits my aesthetic, because I love the double-sided. And my reasoning for that is I love a double-sided character sheet that you give me 1 piece of paper, and that's it. Because if you give me 4 pieces of paper for a character sheet, I'm gonna lose one. Lose one. I do really like the grouping on the skills on the second one. I thought it was kind of neat that he changed the wounds and strain to pain and fatigue. That was pretty cool.
That is pretty cool.
You could totally rename the, you're going to take 2 fatigue on that, and it's the same mechanics as Genesys. You just renamed it. That's so very cool. I like it.
Yeah. Well done.
So, to both Mr. Simon Retold and to Drainsmith, we award you 50 pieces of awesome. Good job, guys.
Woohoo! Yeah, excellent. All right, I gotta start finding the coffers for more pieces of awesome, dude.
Yeah,
it's getting low. No.
Well,
right.
we can get maybe we can start raising the taxes.
That's true. All right, on to the next one. All right, everybody, welcome back. We're at the Book of Genesys now.
You're getting better at that, buddy.
I am, a little bit. Yeah, so open up your Book of Genesys, everyone, to page 232.
Yes, we're going to go over the hacking rules.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, this is, I played a couple hacking characters, slicers, in, in Star Wars, and looking forward to the Ciphers and Mass book to come out as well. I've got
a feeling it's going to enhance that play there for those kind of characters too. So
I think so too. They may rehash some of the hacking rules that were in somewhere else, but we'll see. Maybe they'll add more to it. So let's see here. So we're talking hacking. What is hacking? What are we talking about here?
Well, it's dramatized. That's dramatized, whatever you want to put. Dramatized. Electronic warfare. It's presented in a way that's more of a duel between master technologists than anything else. It isn't exactly how it works in real life. It's not some dude sitting in his basement in his underwear, eating Cheetos, computer viruses for hours on end and then laughing as he releases them onto the dark web.
That's right.
It's more along the lines of, picture the movie Hackers. It's that kind of stylized. There's an actual virtual space, and we're going to mentally go in there and fight. Yep. So it's run like a structured encounter, just like combat, because it is basically a duel between 2 master hackers. Now, those of you out there thinking about various different dueling systems, because this is a duel between 2 master hackers, this is a great template to think about for if you're doing a gunslinger type dueling or samurai type dueling, or 2 mech warriors going toe to toe in the arena on Solaris 7 type dueling. Take a look at these. It might help you. All right.
Excellent.
Sorry. I had to put that note in there because I was going to forget it if I didn't put it right away.
Hey, excellent. I like that. I like that a lot.
So yeah, so the encounter, it's a structured encounter. So its encounter structure is just like combat. So you could run, which is really cool, because if I go back to my first experiences with a cyberpunk style game where you have hacking, I go back to Cyberpunk 2020, where hacking was not something you could do with the party, and you couldn't have your hacker hacking while your party is doing something. It just didn't work,
right?
Because hacking was done in nanoseconds, and everything else happened in regular time.
Yeah, that was one of the complaints my my Hackmaster group had with the system Shadowrun. Was that when they tried that out? I wasn't in the group at the time. I was still living in Florida, but I was talking to them about it, and that was one of the things that it was hard to wrestle when you had your hacker doing something, or I guess they're called deckers in Shadowrun doing that. Everybody else is like, blah, blah, all the other players are like, okay, so what do we do? You know what I mean?
Right.
So.
So, and same thing with Cyberpunk 2020. You had your netrunner, who, if you were playing a netrunner, you never were a part of the group. You always were doing your own thing. And then the GM had to do special encounters just for you. You played with the party through social situations, and then you sat on your ass and read a book while they went through combat. And then your GM pulled you aside and did all your freaking net running. And it was not really well done. With Genesys, it's integrated, so you can integrate it right into a structured encounter. You want your hacker hacking while your party is infiltrating somewhere? Perfect. It works. You just run the initiative for all of them at the same time.
Yeah, it makes me think of the Mission Impossible movies, with Tom Cruise. They got the guy in the van, Simon Pegg, in the van, doing his hacking thing. Oh no, or Ving Rhames was the big hacker dude in there, and then they're doing the rest of this stuff at the same time. Yeah, totally. Yep.
And so they can, so everyone rolls initiative. You use the same. During hacking encounter, call a character attempting to break into a computer the hacker, and you call the character actively working to protect the system the sysop, or the system operator.
Correct.
So it just means, when I write down my initiative, I don't write down what enemies are what. I just write down enemy player. That's it. I don't I don't bother with that, but they label them as hacker and sysop for the purpose of who can do the actions and whatnot.
That's right.
But you'll roll initiative normally. With the hackers, if you have hackers that are fighting each other in the hacking encounter while regular things are going on, you can have them roll their computers for initiative if you'd like.
Oh, that's cool. That's a good idea. I like that.
So,
yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yep. So what's next?
Well, what would be next is, how are we going to hack into the system? Well, the first thing the hacker does is you need to get a link. You need to make sure you have a link to the computer system you're going to be hacking. It could be it could be like your hardware. It could be some sort of Wi-Fi device. It could be a little what do you call it? A little cord coming out of the back of your head, like Johnny Mnemonic, and plugging into a computer system or something along those lines. And in order to start the hacking, you basically have to access the system first. I like how they break this down, where the first thing you have to do is hack in it. You have to access the system, get through system security in some way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that would be like an action to do called access the system on page 233.
Right. So we have a list of actions that you can do here, and we have a list of actions that both the player or the GM can do, the sysop, so to speak, can do. So let's kind of go through those. You said you started with access systems. So how does that work?
So accessing the system, it's only available to the hacker, and obviously you would make a computer's check, And on page 232, table 3, 2-20, called system security, I think that's your initial check for just getting into the system to start doing things. And it's everything from, if you know the passcode, it's just a simple check. You don't really, you can roll, but it's a simple check. A small business server is average. A military server would be daunting. The intelligence agency server, like, at Langley and the CIA, would be formidable. So that would be your accessing the system.
Okay, so if I access the system and find out there is no sysop and there is no defensive software there, this is it. This is where it stops. This is where the encounter ends, right?
No, because you're just inside of the system. You have to figure out what's actually in there. So once you've accessed the system, then you know what commands are available and what other programs and things might be available. So you might be able to go to, I don't know, video cameras, unlock doors, those kinds of things.
Gotcha.
So basically on your first round of combat, quote unquote, hacking combat, your hacking encounter, you would make this roll. This would be the first thing you do.
Okay. All right.
What's
so
the next
then
thing we have here.
Next we have override the security program. Its difficulty is an average computer's check. It's available to the hacker, and it's once the hacker successfully performed an access system action, certain parts of the system may still be protected by security programs, individual programs. You can override those to get into various different areas. Let's say, okay, yeah, the no different than how you have files on your computer. Any man who's ever had a shared computer with his family eventually learns how to password protect a certain folder. No, just kidding.
What, the 4-letter folder that rhymes with right on?
Tron?
Or Tron?
Oh.
What?
Anyhow,
rhymes with torn, right?
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, you have you're going to have security programs that need to be bypassed and overridden, and so this is an action that the hacker can take to get past a specific firewall of some kind or another, and it's usually just 2 purple difficulty. So,
but what's interesting about this?
Yeah, I was going to get there.
Oh, go ahead. Go for it.
Talking about 233,
233 or 230. Well, 235 actually.
Sample security programs on page 235. Yep.
And when we're talking about these security programs, there's different strengths of them, meaning you need certain number of successes to get into those, to get past, say, a firewall. For instance, we've all heard that term before. If you've watched any technical program, even though 9 times out of 10 they probably don't use it right, but still, it's Hollywood, and we don't blame them for it at all. But the firewalls would have a program. It looks like their example here, they have a program strength of 3. And if so what they have here is they have an effect. If the character attempts to override a program and they fail, they're unable to access that portion that the firewall protects. So you may put a firewall in front of, say, a database that you may search. If you can't get through the firewall, then you can't get to the database, for instance. And there are other examples here as well. For those,
okay. Well, cool.
Yeah, man.
All right. So, yeah, and then, and then also at the bottom of that override security program action, if the hacker succeeds, the program shuts down and cannot be reactivated until the end of the hacker's next turn. Hackers can spend advantage and triumph to keep the program shut down longer and completely disabling it. And that's, there is a chart that describes that on page 234.
Which is pretty cool. These are kind of neat.
So what's next?
So what's next would be an action our sysop, or the person, the hacker that's defending the what do you call it? computer.
system.
Yeah, the system. He's protecting the system, and this will be an opposed computers check. So once the sysop knows the system is being hacked, then they need to find out where the hack is, and this action is called a trace user. Now, this is kind of cool. They won't be able to pinpoint, if they succeed, they won't be able to pinpoint where the hack is coming from right away, but you have various levels of getting this trace information. And the more traces you get, the closer you get to the exact location of where the hacker is, and that's actually described in the sidebar on page 233.
Yeah, this reminds me of that, like I said, that scene in the movie Hackers where they're trying to run the trace on them, and they traced them to Calcutta. Oh, and then now they're in Bangkok, and now they're in Hong Kong, and eventually, they're rerouted through a server in New York. It's Subway, blah blah blah. Oh, there we go, we found them.
Exactly, and so this is what the sysop can do to try and find them out.
Cool. All right, let's see.
What else do we have here?
Oh, the big one, lockout. Its difficulty is formidable computers check. That is 5 purple difficulty. Yeah. And it's available to the sysop. Since the sysop has direct control over the system, they can lock out any user at any time, as long as they can find the user and give them the boot. So once aware of a hacker's presence, the sysop can make a formidable computers check. If successful, the hacker loses access to the system. At the GM's discretion, they may be able to regain access. Either in my case, I've had that happen before, and I had the character had to go find a new terminal because the terminal they were at was pegged.
Yeah, like that one, nice.
Yeah, so they had to go find a new terminal, which that leads to them, having to run through that firefight that their friends have been doing while they were busy typing away in cyber war in space.
Yep.
Right.
And the very last sentence for the lockout action is very important. Because you can reduce the difficulty of a lockout once for every successful trace you have against a hacker to a minimum of 1.
Yep,
right,
to a minimum of 1. Yep. So
that's very important to keep track of. Yeah.
Yep. Keep track of how many traces you run on them, and that's simple. It's elegant. It's great.
It really is. And this table right above it, it gives you a way of reducing those traces on the hacker side and on the sysop side to add more traces. You know what I mean? So it's fairly elegant. Yeah,
okay.
Pretty cool.
And we not only do we have actions that our players can take, but they also, as in regular combat, they have maneuvers too.
Exactly. And again, now remember, maneuvers, you don't have to do a check to do these things.
Right.
So the enact command is one, and it's available to both the hacker and the sysop.
Okay.
And this allows the character to do things within the system once they access it. So once you are beyond that firewall, I've gotten through that firewall to the security cameras, you could just say, all right, I want to loop the footage in this corridor and in this elevator so that when my dudes come in, the security guys down at the front desk won't notice, for instance. And that's no check, because you've already got into the system, and this is just one of the things you want to do in there.
Nice.
So, yeah, that's pretty cool.
Okay.
And then for that, it's, when you do an enact command, you should only allow the player and the character perform basically a single command. So you wouldn't want to allow them when one maneuver to loop the camera footage and then unlock these doors over here. You would say, okay, well, it'll take you 2 strain to open up the security doors, because you need to spend a second maneuver to do that.
Sure.
So
awesome.
And there might be talents out there I haven't really looked at. Didn't really see a whole lot of them, but maybe there's some talents in the expanded book that the guys pulled over from Star Wars that will allow you to do a maneuver as an incidental. One of these, maybe an act command as an incidental or something. So.
Nice.
Yep.
Yeah. I type 182 words per second. So,
well done, man. Well done, Tony. You're awesome.
Therefore, I get 2 maneuvers as a free action. No. Next, we have activate programs. It's available again to both the hacker and the sysop, and its description here is that characters use this maneuver to activate or reactivate security programs, as well as any other programs that to help or hinder in the hacking process. So, and you can have, if you really have a lot of depth in the hacking in your system, like I said, with Cyberpunk 2020, there were so many programs. What they had, ICE programs, as they called it,
okay.
And there were attack programs, and there was an entire book that was just programs that you could get for your deck,
cool.
for your net deck. And so if you want to make, and we'll talk about this later when we talk about or setting the tone, there is hints out there on the interwebs that you can use to help you with that if you're going to be creating that stuff. So,
and then like Tony said, keep in mind though, when you are creating these hacking encounters for your hacker in the group, keep in mind how long that may take, and when you want to integrate it into like a combat situation to pull all the players in together. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so then we go, again, we mentioned here on page 235, we have the security programs, and it lists several of them. We went over the firewall. Do you want to go over any of the others, or because?
We'll go over a couple of the other ones. The other one is like a sentry, and those would be spotting, maybe programs that stop you from accessing restricted parts of a server. Those are program strength of 2. Let's see, a gate are authentication programs. If you have the right credentials, then you can let them pass. If not, then you get booted out of the system. Mm-hmm. And then there's this gate, a pop-up, a version of the gate. It's universally revealed marketing gimmick. See, this is kind of cool, actually. It's pretty neat. So the gate, it's a pop-up. Version of a gate is a universally revealed marketing gimmick, not a true security program. It won't stop access to a server, but it is annoying.
Yeah.
If a character attempts to override this program and fails, they suffer 2 strain because they feel the fleeting compulsion to buy a new vehicle or invest in a suspected weight loss plan. That is freaking awesome.
For some reason. Okay, when I read that, I thought, you ever watched the Chappelle Show?
I have not in so long.
Way back when Dave Chappelle did this sketch.
Yeah,
he did this sketch on if the internet was a real place.
Really?
Yeah, and like as he's walking, he made it like a mall, and he's walking into the mall. There's just people that would pop up out of nowhere and go, hey buddy, you want a bigger penis? Hey buddy. Damn pop-ups.
There you go. That is funny. And we had there was one hack that we did when it was a long time ago, back on the old Unix system, everybody. On the SGI system at that. If everybody's watched Jurassic Park, right? The first movie. Anyways, there was this little pop-up, or this little program that could come up, and it's 2 of these eyes. It's called X-eyes. And they follow your mouse pointer. And it just pops up in the corner, right? Mm-hmm. Well, if you throw like 1,000 of these on somebody's display, it's trying to render all these eyes following your frickin' your mouse pointer, and it's like bogging down your system. So we would do that to each other every once in a while. So there you go. There's a suggested hack to for your sysop to go against a hacker, or your hacker to throw those up against your sysop, everybody. There you go.
Nice. All right. So, I mean, we have, like I said, on 234, we skipped over it a little bit, but it talks about it here on page 235, spending advantage, threat, triumph, despair.
Yeah.
Was there some cool ones that you thought you wanted to cover?
Well, I read these the other day. I do like the and everybody on the internet is either now everybody admit you may have done this or you've most definitely had it done to you, trolling.
Yeah.
The character takes so you can spend 3 strain or three advantage or a triumph. The character takes a few moments to mock their opponent, inflict 3 strain on the other user.
Yeah, it takes 3 advantage or a triumph to activate that. That's great.
I think that's a pretty good one. That's a pretty good one. Leaving like a permanent backdoor in the system, that's kind of cool, so that you could come back later. And it's only an easy check next time you come back into the system. That's like straight out of war games, man, from the 80s, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know.
I liked I Know You.
That's a good
hacker
one.
Only. The sysops on the system recognizes the hacker's style.
Oh, yeah, dude.
And the next time you successfully use the trace user action, they successfully trace the hacker one additional time. That is cool. when a hacker rolls 2 threat or a despair.
Yes.
I love that one. That was like, ooh, because I like the idea of a signature style as a hacker.
Mm-hmm. I think there's a talent for that, actually.
Yeah.
To be honest, I think there is one. We'll have to look that up. I do like the despair called Wrong Person. This is if the sysops rolls a despair now. Mm-hmm. They will, if they trace the hacker and they get one crucial element of the hacker's identity completely wrong. That could be so much fun, man, for a GM to throw out there.
Oh yeah.
Or even the player at that, the wrong name, an apartment number, the exact location. I mean, come on. I mean, it would be great.
No, ma'am. I am no officer. I am a meat popsicle. Yeah,
and then there's also this one. This might be for our online distractions.
Yeah, that's you and I. That's period.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's like when I'm looking for the 50 pieces of awesome, man. User gets too focused on the online world. Add 2 setback die to any non-computer checks.
He goes down the rabbit hole.
He just starts like, oh wow, I'm gonna. Yeah,
I went on the internet to look up shoes, and now I'm like 7 hours later, and I ordered a ski. I ordered some skis.
And for some reason, I have like 5 bases on this other moon. I don't even know what game I'm playing.
That's good stuff. All right. Okay, so then last but not least, it's got a little bit here on preparing the hacking opposition. Mm-hmm. So opposition in hacking encounters generally falls into 2 categories. So you got the security of the system itself and the protection of the associated characters to provide it. We've already discussed the first type of opposition in the form of difficulty and the existence of a security programs, the difficulty of such. But preparing NPC opposition for hacking encounters works largely in the same manner as making other NPCs. However, the PCs are unlikely to encounter sysops in person. You only need to have the basest of characteristics for your sysops. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Their computer skills, their initiative skills, and maybe a couple of their base characteristics. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. Completely.
You don't need anything else.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, it depends. I mean, the only other thing you would probably want if you were thinking of this being more of a combat encounter where the hacking is going on simultaneously, you'll want to build that into the encounter as well, right? Mm-hmm. Thinking about, if there's a possibility the sysops person, wherever they're working at, if that facility or department is able to send a, I don't know, quick response team to go find the hacker's location, to quickly go to that location. You'll want to stat out those people, but that's kind of building up the whole encounter there anyway, so. But yeah, for the most part, you pretty much just need the intellect and the computer skill for the sysops guy. That's about, and strain, because apparently you can mock them and troll them.
Yeah.
And cause strain to them.
Yeah, their strain, their social stats, I don't even think you need really any agility or brawn or anything like that.
No, you might want cunning. You might want
cunning, intellect.
Cunning and deception, probably. Deception might be
willpower.
Willpower. Yeah, that's true. That could be another good one.
You really only need the 3 stats. You need their cunning, their intellect, and their willpower.
Cool.
You don't need their presence. You don't need their agility, and you don't really need their brawn.
Right.
You just need those 3, and then
you need their
whatever
skills. Right. And you could throw in something like, I don't know, you like deception, like I said, maybe a social skill if you would happen to do some sort of voice, or video of the other person. Maybe piloting if the sysops or the hacker, or if the sysops person is controlling a drone.
Gotcha.
I mean, that might be another thing you could think of. You might want to do. Driving, that kind of goes into the same spot if you want them to, if driving is the skill for driving hover cars or regular automated cars around. Mm-hmm. If that's the thing. I don't know. I'm just spitballing here.
No, it's all good. That's good info.
Skill. Yeah. Maybe a knowledge skill if there's if during a certain setting, I don't know. You might want to throw in there. But, however in depth you want to make it.
Yeah, but there's no need to come out with a full-fledged NPC.
True. Very true.
All right. So that's, we go to the next page and, hey, we start a new section. So that's pretty much it.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, that's pretty cool. I like it.
It's simple. It's elegant. I like it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like we said, you can easily integrate this into a complete, even a social encounter. Mm-hmm. This could be they could be going on in a different part of the system. Might be controlling the environmental system, making the room warmer. Could put strain on the people during a social encounter or something. You know what I mean?
Or your group is trying to negotiate with a crime lord to get a specific information, and you're hacking his finances.
There you go.
While they're doing it.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Absolutely. Your mind is your only limitation there. Mm-hmm. We can go with it, like we say. Cool, man.
All right. So, what are we going to do for setting the tone?
All right.
So here in setting the tone, this is where we usually will take our today's topic and we will put it into the settings that we're working on. However, Chris and I aren't really working on settings that use any hacking.
Dude, I have a Hobbit hacker concept who's a cook that I've been working on.
Hacking up cheese is not what I mean by hacking.
Oh, that kind of hacking.
All right, what we were originally going to have, I don't know if I announced it in our last episode, but my buddy Dale went to GenCon, and there was a playtest that went on there, an adventure that at GenCon that you could get into that Fantasy Flight ran for the upcoming Android setting.
Cool.
And we were going to have Dale on here to talk about it. Dale, unfortunately, is now, since he took vacation, he's now working nonstop and isn't available. So, and then I was going to have him write up a small report on how it went. And
homework?
Yeah.
Lord, man.
And instead, he sent me a 3-sentence text. So the text basically said, "It's a play test, dude. What do you want me to say?" So what I found for Chris and I to go over is I found it was posted on Facebook on the Genesis group over there, which is a great group, by the way. It was posted on there. Somebody had scans of all of the character sheets from the adventure that they ran called Shadow of the Beanstalk. And so we have those characters, so we can glean a little bit of information from those and maybe figure out some of this, maybe how this affects, a setting that has hacking as one of its primary things. And one of the first things I noticed is the knowledge. Yes. Knowledge, the net.
The net, knowledge, skills. Yeah, let's go with these. So let's see what they got for skills here. They have the net, obviously linked to intelligence. That's cool.
And
Society
that would
and science.
Have to do with knowledge of the net for them is very much like the net, because Android and therefore the card game Netrunner are based on the old R. Talsorian game Cyberpunk 2020 and their cyberspace, and their cyberspace was a network. It was a world within the world. It was it was a virtual space.
Cool.
So I'm guessing this is it's the freaking Matrix, dude.
Yeah, pretty much. The other knowledge skills that they have science and society.
Yep. Those are cool.
Those are cool.
We got our standard 5 social skills, 5 that we normally have.
Yep. Charm, coercion, deception, leadership, and negotiation. Combat skills. What do they have for combat skills?
Brawl, melee. Ranged is divided into light and heavy, which makes sense. It's a modern setting.
True.
And then gunnery.
Gunnery, yeah, man.
Yeah, nice.
And then general skills. So I'm wondering why. So, this is interesting. They divided computers into hacking and sysops.
Yeah. That's so you focus on defensive or do you focus on offensive?
That's kind of cool. And it doesn't look like they have a whole lot of the other skills either.
Nope.
So they took away some skills and they split this one up. That's not bad. There was driving.
Yep, driving, mechanics, operating, piloting.
Yep.
Yeah, but I did notice that too, that the computers was divided into 2. You have hacking and sysops. That's cool.
So you're offensive and defensive. Yeah, that's kind of cool. I do like that. That is pretty cool. So let me see. So we have 6 characters here, man.
Yeah.
We have archetypes and careers that they have.
And they have a whole bunch of new archetypes.
Yeah. So we have what? Yep. We have a clone is one. What's the next one?
Yep. A natural.
Probably a human, maybe.
Yep.
Right? I'm thinking.
Yep.
Then we have a cyborg. Awesome.
Yeah. And then a Gmod, which is a genetically modified being, which is cool.
Yeah.
My favorite.
Your favorite is a loony. Oh, what the hell, dude?
I don't know what that is, but I want to play one.
Yeah, you do.
And then again, we have another natural. So I'm thinking your naturals are your base humans.
I'm thinking so. Then we have careers. So this last, I'm just going to go back up the other way. We have a tech. So we have a tech, which looks like the career skills for a tech would be sysops, computer sysops, mechanics, medicine, operating, piloting, brawl, and all of your knowledge skills, which for a tech, yeah, I could see that. Society, not so much, but, it is what it is.
Okay. And then we have the con artist, which is a new career. Yeah. And he's got, for career skills, he's got coordination, skullduggery, stealth.
Okay.
Then melee, range light, charm, deception, negotiation. This is the perfect Tony character. I'm telling you.
Yes, you're right. It is. You're right. Yeah, that's your con artist.
Yeah.
And we have a bounty hunter.
Sweet.
So we have a discipline, driving, resilience, streetwise. That makes sense. Streetwise definitely makes sense.
Oh yeah.
Brawl, melee, ranged heavy, and coercion. Yeah, I could see. I could see my bounty hunters just beating people up to get information out of them. where
Right.
the bounty is, most definitely. What else we got?
Then we got a roughneck. I'm guessing this is kind
This
of
is your Space Marine. It's got to be
Space Marine. Yeah, Space Marine or mercenary. So they have athletics, mechanics, operating, piloting, resilience, vigilance, ranged heavy, and gunnery.
Cool.
Yeah.
That is cool. And then let's see, we have an investigator. Interesting. Oh, this is nice. So the investigator has computers hacking as a skill. Makes sense. Perception. I'm thinking perception would probably be used. That and vigilance. So they have vigilance as a career skill. Skullduggery, streetwise. So I'm thinking between perception and vigilance, you can do those investigative checks, right? And we got range light, coercion. I could see that. Leadership, yeah, and society, most definitely. That's cool.
Right. Yeah, that's cool. And then the academic.
Oh yeah.
Which is pretty much from the core book. I think it's pretty similar.
Okay.
You have discipline. You have medicine. You have melee, which was interesting.
That is.
Leadership, negotiation, and then all of the knowledges. Science, society, and the net.
Nice.
So
Yep.
all really cool. And then these are just cool ass characters, all of them. They have some cool gear. They have this new section to them on the character sheet.
Yes.
So favors.
That's cool. Given favors and owed favors.
Yep. Every character has either a given, or an owed favor, or both. In the case of the investigator I'm looking at, he has a given small favor, and that is NAPD. I don't know what NAPD stands for, but I'm guessing something police department. Yep. His years of serving the NAPD mean that he can call on friends on the force for occasional help.
Sweet. See years on the force talent.
Yes,
Nice.
and these are given by talents. So it says here under the years on the force talent, Harry gains range light as a career skill,
cool.
And once per session, Harry may collect a small favor from a current or former member of the NAPD. Oh, New Angeles Police Department. That's what that stands for.
There we go. Or
All
the
right.
city, or the city government.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that is really cool that we have this. That's something that anyone can add to any of their modern settings. Favors, you could call it contacts, whatever you want to call it. So take this as a cue if you're creating a modern setting.
Yep.
All right.
Let me see the other favor. What was the other favor? Oh yeah. So here's an example of an owed favor. This would be I'm looking at the Gmod Bounty Hunter. It would be a given. An owed favor. NAPD, the New Angeles Police Department. Tam has had a few run-ins with the law in his time. Sergeant Lana Hollis from the Base de Cambrai precinct got Tam out of a problem with a bounty, accused him of excessive force. Hollis scrubbed the accusation from the records, and now Tam knows he owes her and her friends at NAPD. So that feels a lot like Obligation from Star Wars, which is kind of cool, dude.
Yeah, and actually the givens kind of feel almost like a little bit like a duty. From Star Wars.
It does, actually, because the given is something that you are given, right?
Yeah. It gets you something, and the owed is something that you owe somebody that you have to get them. So, kind of duty is kind of like a given favor, and obligation is kind of like an owed favor. That's cool. I didn't think of it that way until just now.
That is interesting. That is interesting. Yeah, your loony con artist here, Vince. He has owed the organized crime. Oh,
Big favor.
Nice.
Yeah, a few years back, Vince ran the perfect con and ended up getting 2 whole floors of New Angeles retirement community to invest in a fake sports betting scheme. Unfortunately, one of the elderly gentlemen who lost thousands of credits was the grandfather of Max Botella, an infamous enforcer in the Los Scorpiones gang. Vince paid for every credit he stole to every one of his victims, paid back every credit he stole to every one of his victims, which is why he's not dead. But Max made it clear that Vince owes him big time. That's fucking great.
Yeah, that is freaking cool.
Yeah. Oh, I love these characters. They're great.
Oh my gosh. And you know what? I just looked at these talents.
Mm-hmm.
You know, did you see the talent that Vince has? The third one.
Yeah.
Customer service experience.
Customer service experience.
After Vince makes a charm check, he may suffer one strain to cancel a threat. That's fun. Well, you know, hey, I worked at 7-Eleven and was a waiter and a mixologist for years, so maybe I'm a tier 2 customer service experience. Anyways.
Nice. All right, well, you guys, these things are out there on the internet.
Yeah.
Go out there and find them. They're on the Facebook page. Look them over. They're cool. They're good. And even somebody took and wiped them clean and created a blank Android character sheet. And so you can play in the Android setting long before they come out with the Android stuff. Just
they have that Android that there's an Android setting book that FFG has put out there. Probably
this book?
50, 60 bucks.
The Worlds of Android?
You're showing it to me on Skype, dude. I am so freaking jealous. I should just sign over my paycheck to them. Here you go, guys.
It's a good book. It's full of cool art. So, all right, well, that's setting the tone. So let's move on over into our next show segment, the usual Advantageous Threats.
All right, everybody. Welcome to Advantageous Threats. And yeah, this is the part of the show when Tony and I throw a scenario at each other to GM, DM, call it what you will. Tonight it'll probably be GMing, right?
Sure. Yeah,
GMing.
we're not. There's not. I think we picked ones, both of us. Yeah, looks like we did. In both in modern settings, or yours is a little futuristic.
A little bit.
Yeah, let's do yours. Let's see what it is.
Okay, so yes, my wife and I have been catching up on The Expanse.
Which is a near future hard sci-fi TV show. Really good.
Yes, definitely. So my character, Leo Vash, he's a mechanic and a computers expert aboard a UNN ship called the Crippled Squalor.
That's cool.
Thank you, Fallon, for that name. My daughter gave me that name. So basically, Leo needs to stay undetected to send some evidence to the UN offices on Earth without anyone tracing it back to him. And because it's wartime, they're out there in the space and needs to send this vital information through space in the middle of a wartime to get her done. So that's going to make it for a very difficult check. More than likely daunting, looking at the difficulties here, just to let you know there. So Leo has an intellect of 2, not too bright, but he's a savant when it comes to computers, and has a computers of 4. Okay. I'm going to get those dice out. And I was saying daunting because Leo needs to potentially bounce the signal off of the military servers, potentially. I'm thinking, looking at this table on page 232, I'm thinking it's a military server level of access that he's going to need to break into. So this will be basically his first check, or maybe we could do it all in one check to send this data, depending, you know what I mean?
Right.
So,
for the purposes of Advantageous Threat, we're doing it all in one check.
Yes, we will. We're not going to be playing this out. In the multiple, we don't have a SysOps person out there.
I mean, if you want to play a game right now, buddy, I can. Let's get some people. Let's go.
Oh, I know. We should. So I have a 2 yellow, 2 green, 4 purple to start with. So what do we go from here, man?
Well, you said you have quite a bit of distance to cover with this signal, and how many times is it going to be re-pinged off of other ships?
That's a good question. Handful, maybe a few.
Yeah, I would say setback die just for that, because you could have signal degradation.
Okay.
Yeah.
That rocks.
I think that's the word.
That works for me.
I can't word today, so
that works for me. I would like to get a boost die because he is using his own computers. He's got the right tool for the job, basically. Right. If you think of it that way. I don't think so. I was looking at talents that could potentially be used here in this situation, where he may have, but I wasn't really thinking of anything. Really, the only thing would be maybe a knack for it would be one, but I don't think you would have that just yet.
Okay. All right. So, are you going to upgrade?
I will upgrade because this is very, very vital info that could potentially change the war, maybe even end the war before it even gets really started. So
okay. Well, as GM, in this situation, whether I upgrade would be dependent on how vital the information is for the other side, whether they would care whether it gets out as much. So in this case, I'm going to let you roll it as is.
Well, there was one thing that I wanted to stress here was that the ship is trying to be stealthy.
Oh,
so that if the
then there is a reason for despair.
Yes, there is a reason, and this might even be a time to do the automatic despair or automatic upgrade. Mm-hmm. And then upgrade it again. You know what I mean?
Yeah. In fact, I did not know that the ship had to be in stealth. So, yeah, let's automatically upgrade it once, and then I will also spend
a story point to magically upgrade it again. Okay. So there we go. So we have 3 yellow, a green, and a blue, 2 red, 2 purple, and a black. All right, here we go, man. Come on, Leo, get the information there. Okay. Oh boy, we have lots of failures. No despairs, though. No despairs. But I do have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 failures. 1, 2, 3 successes. So Leo fails.
Okay.
He fails with 1, 2. I think he fails with 2 failures.
No advantage, nothing?
No advantage. Oh, with 1 advantage, actually.
Okay. All right. Well, with this 1 advantage, I have an idea of what I'd like to do with it as GM.
Perfect.
And that he knows why the message didn't get through.
Cool.
He knows why it didn't get through. Because the Mars relay station is down.
Oh. All right. Perfect. Nice, man. I like that.
Okay.
I like that.
All right.
All right. That wasn't extremely exciting, but it was kind of cool.
Yeah, it was a lot of dice.
Yeah, it was. And 10 dice there.
Yeah. All right. So for mine, I have my character, Oberon Kincaid, is a second story man in an Ocean's 11 style heist game.
Nice.
He needs to splice into a cell phone tower computer relay on the top of a nearby skyscraper in downtown Atlantic City.
Nice.
So he's already climbed the tower. He's already broken onto the roof.
Nice.
But he has a time limit because he set off an alarm when he broke onto the roof.
Okay.
So that building's security is going to be showing up to get rid of him.
Okay.
Fortunately, he has a plan.
Cool. All right.
So he has an intellect of 3 and a computers of 3.
Okay.
And all he needs to do is access the system and stand by to receive a phone call.
Gotcha.
And intercept a phone call that is going to be relayed through the tower.
Nice. Well, this relay feels like it's a government network / corporate server level.
Oh,
like a
yeah.
hard. It'd be hard, probably not military server, daunting level. I'm thinking it's hard.
Yep. It's a public service, so
now,
yeah.
Here's a question. Is Oberon Kincaid, is he on probation? Is he is he afraid he's going to get arrested or whatever?
He's got a record.
He's got a record, so I might throw a couple of setback dice in there because he doesn't want to go back to the Slimer.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Right. That's for the time limit, the stress that's putting on him.
Okay. But in this case, knack for it.
Ooh, cool.
We'll remove up to 2 of those. So
nice.
All right. So we now have that, and but time short probably should keep 1 though. We should have 1 setback die just for the time period.
The time period, or the fact that it's raining outside.
Okay. Whatever.
Great.
Yep. Nope. So that's pretty much it. Oh, tools for the job. He has the right tools for the job, so he's going to have a boost die.
All right.
I don't see any reason for me to waste one of those valuable story points to upgrade. Mm-hmm. He would probably save that for his escape if he needs it.
That's true, but I would like to spend a story point to make sure those security guards get there quickly.
Okay. All right. So I want to roll this up.
All right. And
I immediately get a dynamic result. So I had a triumph.
Yes. All right.
Okay. However, let's see. That is 1, 2, 3. Okay, so I had a triumph, which is 1, 2, 3, 4 successes, 2 failures. So that comes out to 2 successes, and a triumph, and 4 threat.
4 threat. Wow. Okay. So, well, he definitely the call comes because he got 2 successes. Mm-hmm. He does it. He gets in there fairly quickly, and it is. I'm going to say it's going to be within the 3. It will be within the 3 minutes.
Okay.
He's kind of timed well, right?
Right.
However, with those 4 threat, I would like to say that. And I'll let you spend a triumph after this, because you might have a good idea. I'm going to say with that 4 threat, he did not realize the security office, there was a group of security guards so close to the roof. So he's on this tower, right? The skyscraper. Mm-hmm. There was another group of them somewhere else. So one of his buddies who might have done, or maybe his own recon, didn't give him that information. So building security.
Triumph. He planned for his escape, and he base jumps off the tower.
See, that's awesome. That's sweet. Yeah. So security comes out. I could see this playing out. It's raining. He's just disconnecting. He just got everything he needs. Security comes out on the roof, freeze, and he's like, "Whatever, dude."
He waves by, and he's talking to the person on the phone, receiving the phone call while base jumping.
Nice. That's cool, dude. That's style. Oberon Kincaid has style. Maybe he just does one of those. He's already on the ledge of the building, and he falls backwards or just jumps back. Right?
Waving as he goes.
Now is Oberon? Is he like is he British? So is this like a big British flag on the on this parachute as it's going down?
Yeah, I kind of pictured kind of a Brad Pitt looking guy when I typed the name down. So he's Irish.
He's Irish. Nice.
Yeah.
Sweet. All right, that's cool, dude. That was cool.
Yeah.
All right.
I liked it. Okay.
So that's it for that. Yeah, that's probably it for the show. Time to end this thing, man.
Nice short one. Let's get it over with.
Okay. All right, everybody. That is our show for today. I'd like to give a shout out to Mr. Mean himself, John Pollock, by this Mr. Mean Speaks YouTube channel he's got out there and his G Plus page, Google Plus page. He reviews a wide variety of RPGs and such out there. I enjoy his stuff. Really cool. Yep. Anywhere from like 20 minutes to an hour. He just speaks on all kinds of different things.
Man can talk forever.
Yeah, he can. Keep it up, man. Keep it up there, John.
Yeah, I like his reviews. He does a great job. Thanks, John.
He does. Yeah, he does. Thanks, man.
All right, so also we have coming up, we have in September, NivCon 2, Nerds International Virtual Convention, September 15th and 16th.
Yep.
What else?
We do have Con on the Cob, November 8th through the 11th. In Richfield, Ohio. Tony and I are going to be there dorking out with the rest of the Nerds International community, man.
Oh, yeah.
Come join
Partying
us.
it up, having a couple beers, playing some games.
Just a couple.
Well, okay. For you, angry balls. Mostly angry balls.
Yeah, very true. Very true. Which, by the way, for everybody out there, is Fireball with Angry Orchard hard cider. Now you can also make Strong Balls, which is Fireball with Strongbow hard cider.
Yeah, all tastes the same, right?
And it's so cool to drink a drink that's named after one of your favorite role-playing games. A spell from one of your favorite role-playing games. Yes, Fireball.
So you can DM your drinking?
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah, bitches.
So you can run into those of us from the Nerds with a hyphen International G Plus community out there at Con on the Cob. Also, you can talk to us on Google Plus. You can email Chris and I at findingthenarrativepodcast@gmail.com. You can get a hold of me on Facebook, and I pass that on to Chris. Mm-hmm. You can listen to us wherever you listen to your podcasts. Find places such as Podbean, iTunes, YouTube, and now on Google Play.
That's right. I saw the feed come up. Who suggested? Somebody requested that out there.
Somebody on Facebook. I don't have the name in front of me, but yeah. Thank you for putting through the request, and you got it. You asked, and we shall receive. Yes,
it happens, and I think it's all automatically going to happen now too. So, woo!
All right. So, with that being said, this is Tony saying, "Keep rolling them bones."
And this is Chris saying, "Remember the rule of cool and just have fun, everybody." Good night.
Finding a Narrative Podcast is not affiliated with or endorsed by any companies mentioned on this show. Any of the products mentioned on our show or appear on our website are the property and copyright of their respected owners. All items are used under fair use and educational and review purposes. All other items are the intellectual property of Finding a Narrative Podcast. Copyright 2018, all rights reserved.